I'm Scott Racker, Executive Director of the Robert D. and Billy Ray Center at Drake University. The Ray Center mission is to improve civility through character development and ethical leadership. Governor Ray believed that if we enhance our best character competencies and ethical leadership, that civility would be one of the outcomes. We began our work in 1997 with one fifth grade classroom using the Character Counts framework. And we're now the global home to Character Counts, serving over 8 million youth worldwide. We work from early childhood to the corporate, community, and public service arena with an inspiration to transform lives and strengthen communities. Through this work, we honor the legacy of Governor and Mrs. Ray's lifelong commitment to positively impact the lives of others. September 26 was Governor Ray's birthday. And once again, Governor Kim Reynolds has proclaimed September 26 as Robert D. Ray Day in Iowa, with the encouragement that people learn more about the legacy of Governor Ray and strive to model his exemplary service to humanity. Today, we're honored to have with us Ambassador Ken Quinn, who is the President Emeritus of the World Food Prize. Ambassador Quinn was a close personal friend to Governor Ray and served on Governor Ray's staff during some of the most vital aspects of his humanitarian leadership. We've asked Ambassador Quinn to share with us his thoughts on how character and civility influence Governor Ray's leadership. Thank you for joining us, Ambassador Quinn, as we celebrate Robert D. Ray Day in Iowa.
You know, it was right around this time, right around his birthday in September of 1978, that I first came home to Iowa to join his staff on loan from the U.S. State Department. And I immediately saw what an impressive state leader, what an impressive governor he was. You know, I came out of Watergate atmosphere in Washington. Government was mistrusted, but Governor Ray, through his openness, his personal integrity, he had kept trust and faith in government at a very high level in Iowa. And I also saw him deal immediately with irregularities, a hint of scandal in the Iowa National Guard. He moved decisively to change the leadership, and he set it on the course to build it to what it's become today, one of the leading institutions in our state and in our country. But it was in January of 1979, a few months later, that I witnessed the transformation of Governor Ray. It was cold, cold night. He had been at a Drake basketball game. Gosh, Governor Ray loved Drake. And as he often did, he would come back to the office at night to work. There were just a couple of us there. And we wanted to show him a video of a TV show we had just seen called CBS Reports with Ed Bradley on an island off Malaysia. And he had filmed the arrival of a boat filled with Vietnamese refugees who had desperately gotten on this kind of rickety boat and gone out into the South China Sea, desperately searching freedom from the now communist rule of their home country. And having gotten there, having thought they had achieved freedom, the local officials were pushed them back out to sea, said, go someplace else. And we watched as the boat broke up in the waves. And we could see people, human beings, falling into the ocean, drowning before our eyes. Governor Ray was so impacted by this that he couldn't sit still. He stood up and he started walking around his office and saying, how can this happen? How can this be taking place? And I explained to him that no country in the world was accepting any more refugees from Indochina, from Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. America had taken 130,000, and now our doors, just like every other country in the world, were shut. No more refugees. And Governor Ray said, and I remember this, he said, we have two choices. We can either turn our back or we can reach out a hand to these people desperately searching freedom. And that night, and I should say, no one expected the governor of Iowa to do anything about this. That night, he wrote a letter to President Carter, and he said, Mr. President, if you will just reopen America's doors, Iowa will double the number of refugees we have already resettled. And he became the governor of Iowa Robert D. Ray became the first governing official in the world to agree to accept the boat people refugees. But he didn't stop there. Went to Washington, D.C. He recruited a few other governors to work with him. He lobbied the White House and the State Department. We're different parties, right? Governor Ray's a Republican, the president's a Democrat. But on these kind of issues, there was no partisan politics for Governor Ray. And in July, we went to Geneva, Switzerland, at the International Conference on the Boat People. And Vice President Mondale got up and announced America would take 168,000 refugees that year from Indochina, and the Navy would go and rescue the boat people. And America, with the exception of the communist countries, got a spontaneous standing ovation for our humanitarian leadership. And as Vice President Mondale came back, Governor Ray went up to him and shook his hand, said, "This is one of the proudest moments of my life as an American." We came back. October was the visit of Pope John Paul II, this beautiful crisp day at Living History Farm. And among the Iowans bringing the gifts to the altar for the Pope to say Mass were Vietnamese refugees wearing their bright native costumes, now living in freedom, living in Iowa. Do this. And after that, we went on a trip to China and we stopped in Thailand to visit refugee camps. And once again, we were confronted with a scene of Cambodian refugees from genocide. 30,000 in the most deplorable conditions. They had escaped the Khmer Rouge, the Pol Pot killers. And Governor Ray was so affected by this. He took photos, brought it back, and we started Iowa Shares. Iowa sends help to aid refugees, end starvation. And we raised the equivalent of about $2 million in about 6 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and rushed food and medicine arriving at this God-forsaken place with a touch of life for these Cambodian refugees on Christmas Day. And Governor Ray continued this work, continued his leadership. And as a result, there are now about 1 million refugees from Indochina in America, and their children and their children's children living in freedom, thanks to the moral leadership of Governor Ray. While we were in Thailand on that trip, we went to another refugee camp at a place called Nong Khai. And there were another group called the Thai Dam. These were a tribal people from Laos who in 1975, desperate to keep their culture together, their language together, they had come to the US right after the fall of Saigon and South Vietnam, and they desperate to live together. And Governor Ray was the only governor who answered them, kept them together as a people, kept their language and culture intact. And we went to visit a Thai Dam camp in Thailand with another several thousand people waiting, hoping that they could come and have new lives. And they gave us a wonderful welcome. And they said to Governor and Mrs. Ray, "We want to show you our symbol of hope." And we wondered what that was. And they took us to a little thatched shed, not even a shed with a door or anything, just a little thatched structure. And they brought us in and they pointed to the wall and they said, there, that's our symbol of hope. And on the wall was the Iowa Department of Transportation highway map with pins in it where all the Thai Dam were living. And they said, our hope is to go to Iowa and live in freedom. So here are all these people, Vietnamese, Cambodians, Thai Dam. They're all as different from Governor Ray as they possibly could be. The color of their skin is different. The language they spoke, the religion they followed, everything was different. But to Governor Ray, they were fellow human beings. They were suffering, and they deserved a touch of life. So on Governor Ray's birthday, you know, people usually say, let's have a toast, but a toast for Governor Ray would be having a scoop or maybe two of delicious vanilla ice cream. So Mrs. Ray, all the Ray children, to everybody at Character Counts, Scott, through you, to everyone carrying forward Governor Ray's legacy. Happy birthday, Governor Ray. We love you, and you are our hero.